Legends! Today we're going to read a very special story called Koala Lou, written by Mem Fox and illustrated by Pamela Lofts. Let's take a look at the cover together. What can you see? Yes, two koalas. And who do we think these two koalas might be to each other? Do you think they are best friends or maybe cousins? No? You're probably right. One's bigger than the other, so I think they might be a mother and her baby, or her joey. Joey is what we call a baby koala. Now, before we start, think about this. Have you ever wanted someone in your family to notice you or tell you that they love you? That's exactly how Koala Lou feels in this story. Let's read and find out what happens to her. But it was her mother who loved her most of all. 100 times a day she would laugh and shake her head and say, Koala Lou, I do love you. Whenever she stretched in the early morning sun, or climbed a gum tree, or bravely went down the track all by herself, her mother would smile and say, Koala Lou, I do love you. The years passed and other koalas were born, brothers and sisters for Koala Lou. Soon the mother was so busy she didn't have time to tell Koala Lou that she loved her, although of course she did. Every night, as she curled up under the stars, Koala Lou thought about the times when her mother had looked at her and said, Koala Lou, I do love you. And she longed for her to say it again. So, some key textual concepts. Koala Lou provides a strong model for teaching early learners how narratives are structured to engage readers. The orientation introduces Koala Lou, her mother, in the Australian bush setting. The complication arises when Koala Lou feels neglected and seeks recognition from her mother, deciding to try and win the Bush Olympics. The narrative conveys her struggles and invites the reader to connect with her experiences. The resolution occurs when Lou returns to her mother after losing. Her mother reassures Lou of her love. The coda reflects the broader lesson. Her mother's love is unconditional, and winning or losing does not affect it, reinforcing the story's themes of family and love. The text imaginative qualities, including vivid illustrations and the personification of Koala Lou and other Australian animals, exemplify other key narrative features. These features will help early stage 1 students distinguish imaginative text from factual accounts. Mem Fox positions readers through the Koala Lou's viewpoint, and the text invites young readers to interpret her feelings through their own experiences, fostering empathy and reflection on the story's themes. In Koala Lou, the universal themes of love and family and perseverance are represented through a distinctly Australian lens. The story is particularly suitable for kindergarten classes because these themes connect deeply with the limited life experiences of early stage 1 learners who are still developing their understanding of relationships, and Koala Lou provides a gentle, relatable way to discuss these feelings. The central theme of unconditional love is conveyed through the recurring line, Koala Lou, I do love you, a phrase that anchors the narrative both emotionally and structurally. This repetition supports emerging readers by creating rhythm and predictability. Loft's illustrations visually extend the story's themes. Koala Lou is often shown alone or facing away from the reader in an offer gaze, creating an emotional distance and inviting empathy as we observe her longing for connection, as she's both literally and emotionally turned away. In contrast, the final close-up image shows Koala Lou and her mother in a warm embrace, as we can see on screen. The intimacy of the framing conveys safety and reconnection. For kindergarten students, this visual resolution reinforces the central theme of family and unconditional love. The muted watercolors used by illustrator Pamela Lofts capture the soft, earthy tones of the Australian bush and mirror Koala Lou's emotional journey, visually representing her emotional distance. Her muted palette remains constant and is contrasted with the vibrant celebratory colors used to depict the Bush Olympics, filled with bright greens and reds and yellows, which portrays a sense of excitement and community. Compositionally, Lou is never shown within these lively scenes. She is separated by the page, reinforcing her feelings of exclusion and isolation. This visual separation mirrors the narrative's emotional tension, her desire to regain her mother's affection. So, Koala Lou's mother is portrayed as consistently loving and steady presence. She provides a comfort and reassurance and models unconditional love for young readers. Illustratively, she is often shown with soft, gentle expressions and often embracing Lou or her siblings, reinforcing her role as a source of comfort and love. She's depicted in warm tones of orange and brown, contrasting with Koala Lou's cooler greys, which visually represents her warm, nurturing presence and reinforce her function as a central vehicle for the story's theme of unconditional love. Koala Lou is set in the Australian bush, vividly populated with native flora and fauna. While the animals are personified, the depictions are detailed and easily recognizable to give a sense of realism, and the bush is bustling with life, creating a lively and engaging setting. This environment is particularly effective for Australian ES1 students because it frames Koalalu's emotional experiences within a setting that is familiar, helping young readers connect their own experiences of home and family and community to the story. So the story unfolds over the course of a single unspecified day, and that's a choice that makes the narrative feel timeless and relatable to young readers. A key event in the Bush Olympics is set within this environment and was inspired by the 1984 Olympic Games. The animals in this scene, which we can see on screen, are highly salient and contained within a central frame that immediately draws the reader's attention. Their positioning is deliberate. The emu occupies the center while the other animals surround the edges of the frame. The lack of background eliminates distractions, focusing the reader's gaze entirely on the animal's expressions. A close-up frontal perspective creates a sense of intimacy and connection, positioning the viewer at eye level with the animals. This angle creates a sense of equality, inviting the reader into the scene as a participant rather than an observer. The animal's eyes meet the reader's in a demand gaze, positioning the reader as the recipient of their affection. This engagement mirrors Koalalu's own experience of being loved, encouraging empathy and a shared emotional understanding. The texture in Loft's illustrations is particularly evident in the fur and feathers, giving the image a gentle tactile quality. And combined with the soft muted colors, this conveys approachability while lending authenticity to the depiction of Australian fauna. The emphatic do in Koalalu, I do love you, intensifies the sincerity of the statement. Linguistically, the phrase is memorable because of its rhyme and rhythmic repetition, as the line appears several times throughout the text. This repeating line would lend itself beautifully to choral reading in kindergarten class, inviting students to join in each time it appears. Doing so supports engagement and builds confidence in oral reading, and then, which strengthens students' sense of shared participation in the story. So the word bush in Koalalu is more than a simple description of vegetation. It's a distinctly Australian term with deep cultural resonance. Historically, bush replaced the English word woods in the early 19th century, and over time it came to represent not only the physical environment, but also a rural Australian identity. So for ES1, exploring this word offers a way to connect language to Australian history and culture, and also a great example of how words have different meaning in different contexts. So for language studies, students revisit the repeated line, Koalalu, I do love you, and explore how rhyme and repetition help us remember important ideas. The teacher reads a line aloud several times, emphasizing the rhythm and the capitalized do, explaining that authors sometimes use repetition to make their message stronger. Students identify which words sound the same at the end, Lu and you. The teacher introduces rhyme and explains that it occurs when words share the same final phoneme. Together, the class brainstorms other oo rhyming words and records them on a display. After having it modeled by the teacher, students are given sentence starters such as Mum, I do love you, and asked to complete it with a rhyming line. And you can see examples on the screen. Students share their rhymes aloud, practicing rhythm, rhyme, and expressive reading. For oral work, students engage in a structured role play. After rereading the final pages, the teacher sets a scene. Koalalu has just finished the Bush Olympics and climbs up the tree to talk to her mum. The teacher models expressive dialogue, demonstrating how intonation, pausing, and facial expression can convey emotion. In pairs, students receive a prompt sheet with a simple question to guide their conversation, supporting them to respond, recall story events, and express ideas. You can see the questions on screen. In pairs, students take turns playing each role, practicing using oral language to express emotions and share an opinion. After practicing, pairs present their role play to the class and can use koala puppets to represent the characters. So for creative writing, during a short rereading of Koalalu, the teacher pauses to highlight verbs and invites students to identify them aloud. As these are names, they are recorded on a chart alongside an animal chart listing Australian animals mentioned in the story and others suggested by students. The teacher then displays an image of Koalalu's family and poses the imaginative prompt, what if your family were Australian animals? What kind of animals would you be and what would you do together? The teacher models how to combine these ideas into a full imaginative sentence using think aloud. For example, if my family were kangaroos, we would hop through the bush. Together, the class co-constructs one or two more examples using the charts for support before students then write their own imaginative sentence, beginning with, if my family were, then they illustrate their animal family in action. So for an extension, students can refine their writing by expanding their sentence to include adjectives and prepositional phrases that add descriptive detail. The teacher can first model this to enrich a simple sentence using a think aloud to explain the choices. Together, the class co-constructs a chart of adjectives and prepositional phrases, and students contribute their own ideas. Students then rewrite their sentence to be more detailed, drawing from the chart for support. And really highly capable students are encouraged to extend this into a compound sentence using a coordinating conjunction to connect ideas. So, to support emerging writers, students are provided with a visual worksheet featuring labeled pictures of Australian animals, as we can see on screen, to help them choose what animal their family could be. The teacher models how to use a sentence stem. If my family were blank, we would blank. Students can then choose to either complete the sentence stem in writing or deliver their response orally, supported by the visual prompts and shared word bank. Students then draw a picture to match their sentence. So, a couple of related texts. The Lost Girl shares Koalalu's Australian bush setting, but offers a distinctly First Nations perspective, portraying country as a living, caring presence that protects and nurtures the young girl who calls country her mother. The text reflects two traditional First Nations understandings of family where love and belonging extend to the land, animals, and community. Its rich, earthy illustrations of Australian flora and fauna mirror the natural imagery of Koalalu, making the two texts highly complementary. Through this text, students also develop an appreciation of First Nations culture and ways of knowing, deepening their understanding of family and of country. The other text, Love Makes a Family, complements Koalalu by presenting a diverse range of family structures, broadening students' understanding of what family can look like across cultures and communities. Its minimal written text and bold, bright illustrations give the book a cheerful tone while making it inclusive and accessible for all learners, particularly EALD students who can interpret meaning visually and through discussion. Used alongside Koalalu, this text extends representation beyond animal characters to include a varied family types, relationships, and races that better reflect the diversity present in the classroom. So, Koalalu can be used to explore the characteristics of Australian animals featured in Koalalu. Using illustrations from the text as visual references, students can identify characteristics such as claws, furs, wings, etc., and describe their purposes. Each student then selects one animal from the book to illustrate, labeling its body parts and adding a short caption describing how one of these features help it live within its environment, the Australian bush. The completed drawings will be arranged together on a large classroom poster to create a visual display of Australian animal and characters of Koala Loo. Thank you.